This is the Barbados Today morning news for Monday, November 11. Thank you for joining us. I am Marie-Claire Williams. We're beginning with news that repair works are scheduled to begin today in St. Lucie on sections of the road that was damaged by last weekend's floods. Several areas in the north were left under flood waters following heavy rains from a trough system on Saturday. Government officials visited the area, including Prime Minister Mia Mottley and the Minister in the Ministry of Transport and Works, Peter Phillips. He later outlined some of the damage caused by the system.
We had a series of damage and floods actually throughout the entire St. Lucie. We would have had areas such as Alexandria that was affected, Pike Corner here where we are right now that received the brunt of the water, areas of like Derms where the road actually has been seriously undermined. In the Maycox Terrace area we had 3 houses that were actually flooded, and we actually had to do a rescue of a family there with a 1-year-old, in which there was a 1-year-old baby. Since then the fire service has gone to do some pumping of that water from the area. Well over, it is as high as about probably 6 to 8 feet of water in that area, flooding at actually a house, 3 houses, and the ministry officials would also have been deployed to come to basically deal with that particular situation. We've also had challenges in Crab Hill as well, where there were another 2 houses were flooded. In the Derms area, as I said, we have had the road has been seriously undermined as a result of the deluge of water which came into that area.
Phillips also appealed to the public to exercise caution when traveling in the area.
When you approach the Derms area, be very cautious, approach with caution, knowing that the half of the road has been closed off in order to prevent any major damage, as it is seriously undermined, as it has been undermined. We don't want any tragedies or anything of the sort, so the road has been half of the road has been closed off. If you're coming from Pike Corner side, it would be on the right side of the road. If you're coming just before you get to the corner as well, if you're coming from what we call Half Acre or the reservoir, it will be on the left side just as you come around the corner. So, and we will be doing remedial work on that from as early as Monday morning, so that we can get that road back open fully, so that we can so that the traveling public can have free access. But for the time being, we want you to approach that general area with caution. In the Pike Corner area as well, we've had some where the road has been damaged in terms of the actual because of the flow of water. What has happened is that we've had some of the road being torn up and so on with the pressure from the water. So you also have to approach that road on the bridge in Pike Corner with caution as well.
Also from today, the section of road along Highway 1 between Porters Road and Coral Reef, St. James, is expected to be reopened. It was closed to enable the installation of flood alleviation structures and also to improve drainage and alleviate flooding in some parts of St. James. The works were carried out under the adaptation measures to counter the effects of climate change project. Meanwhile, Trent's Tenantry Road will be closed from Tuesday to facilitate necessary works under the project. The closure is expected to last approximately 3 weeks, weather permitting. Local access to Trent's Tenantry Road will be from the south. In other news, CrimeStoppers Barbados has described as a tragedy of mammoth proportions last Friday's fatal school stabbing. Program Director Sherry Holder Oleteo says the incident underscores the importance of its anger management conflict resolution program for secondary schools, Cooley Head. She says over the past 7 years, the team of counselors at CrimeStoppers Barbados has worked in several of the island's 21 secondary schools to engage students in its Cool Your Head program. According to her, both male and female students are finding it increasingly difficult to keep a tight rein on their emotions, especially in potentially volatile situations. The program is designed to provide students with the tools needed to apply reason and navigate difficult situations. CrimeStoppers Barbados is persuaded that anger management and conflict resolutions programs are vital to stemming the violent behavior exhibited by some students at this time.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Craft Center. Kick off the weekend this Friday from 4 p.m. to midnight with loads of food, drinks, and entertainment. Get ready for Crop Over with the Rhythm Roots Street Parade. Party like it's Kadooman Day on the street around Pelican Village with costume reveler, music, and more. It's Festive Friday. It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Village Center from 4 p.m. to midnight. Admission free.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
Thank you for staying with us. We're back now with news from the region. St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, says Caribbean countries have dropped the ball on addressing the issue of underdevelopment. He was addressing a discussion on reparations at the Scarborough Library in Tobago. We have more in this report from TTT Live Online.
6 years after he helped form the Caribbean Reparations Commission, Dr. Gonsalves laments that too little progress has been made in the region.
We have to have a conversation with the British, with the French in the case of Haiti, and the Dutch in the case of Suriname. I'm talking about the Caribbean countries, the CARICOM countries.
If these efforts are futile, he says that the next course of action ought to be the employment of legal and political instruments.
And one legal path forward is to bring a case to the International Court of Justice within the framework of certain conventions, and more particularly the Convention for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination.
But political leaders must have the bravery to exercise their power.
There is political pressure which could be brought to resolutions at the United Nations, other forms of work which we can do through specialized agencies of the United Nations and other international bodies which we are members.
Dr. Gonsalves was the feature speaker at a Caribbean Reparations Update, the issue of reparations for native genocide and slavery, hosted by the Tobago Writers Guild.
On the international scene, Bolivian President Evo Morales has resigned amid turmoil following his disputed re-election last month. On Sunday, international monitors called for the result of the election to be annulled, saying they had found clear manipulations of the October 20th poll. Morales agreed with the findings and announced plans to call fresh elections after overhauling the elections body. But politicians, as well as police and army chiefs, called for him to step down. In a televised address, Morales said he would resign as president. He also called on protesters to stop attacking his allies and burning their homes. And finally, the Mexican government on Sunday invited the FBI to participate in its investigation into an attack in northern Mexico that killed 9 dual citizens of the U.S. and Mexico. The Foreign Ministry said it extended the invitation through a diplomatic note to the U.S. Embassy there. The invitation came after funeral services were held for the victims on the weekend. We get more in this Reuters report.
Hundreds of friends and family from both sides of the U.S.-Mexico border gathered to honor Christina Langford, who died in the ambush last week that killed 3 women and 6 children. Family members say Langford exited her car with her arms outstretched to signal she was not a gang member after wedging her daughter's car seat on the floor of the vehicle. The baby, Faith, was found unharmed in the bullet-riddled SUV. The deaths have brought together different Mormon groups and even some of those who fled them to demand that not only Mexico or the United States, but an international task force intervene in the country's endemic violence.
This is bigger than Mexico. We're families from the United States and Mexico. We grew up in both places. and I don't understand why it wouldn't be a good idea to work together.
The victims' communities of LeBaron and Lamora stem from the late 1800s, when upheaval over polygamy in the Mormon Church led to their founding. While the Mexican government has deployed troops to keep watch, the killings have traumatized the Mormon communities, prompting some families to head for safety in the United States.
That's the news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook, and sign up for breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals and Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also find us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM. I am Marie Claire Williams. Good morning.